Yep, that was edgy. Emrakul has had a few different variants over the years, but today I'm going to take abilities and feats that Emrakul is shown to be capable of from all of its current versions. We have a lot to cover, so without further ado, let's begin. Emrakul seems to be an extremely ancient being, existing before our buddy Soren Markov, who I believed to be close to 11,000 years old. That's right, Emrakul is older than the mysterious leftovers in the back of your fridge that you don't even remember putting in there. Emrakul goes by many names, but its official title is the Eldrazi Titan of Corruption. Some of you may be wondering, what the hell's an Eldrazi? Well, let me tell you. The Eldrazi are an ancient race of things that lived in a place called the Blind Eternities. The Blind Eternities is a place that acts as a divider into different universes. Because of this divider, only super powerful mages called Planeswalkers are capable of traveling to these other universes without being stopped by the previously mentioned Blind Eternities. Eldrazi are a lot bigger and a lot more powerful than how I've been talking about them thus far. Basically, whenever they get hungry, they extend a small piece of themselves into a plane and release their twisted drones and monstrosities into the world. It devours its life source and eats away at the mana, turning the landscape into a twisted wasteland. A super grumpy grandpa dragon explained it best. It's like a man sticking his hand into a pool of water, the man being the Eldrazi Titan, and the water being the world. So, this thing right here that could just smash a town with one tentacle is considered just the Titan's hand. And that goes for all the Titans, including Emrakul, Ulamog, and Kozilek. Not to mention, only these three have been found so far. There could be bigger and worse Eldrazi out there somewhere. They're watching you. Now, each of the Titans have equally strange and unique abilities. Ulamog warps the landscape and the plane's physical properties. Kozilek warps reality? Whatever that means. And Emrakul has a very nasty effect on biological creatures. I'm adding an Iron Stomach to her list of feats because just look at the stuff that this monster can create. Oh yeah, and Emrakul is a girl. I think Emrakul has a very limited contact with people who were able to actually document facts about her, but on one occasion she played a game of chess inside of a mage's mind and took on the form of a female angel instead of her usual form. So yeah, it's kind of confusing, but we're pretty sure Emrakul's a girl. While Emrakul was on the plane of Zendikar, her and the other Titans tried to consume the planet. It took the combined power of Grandpa Dragon, an Earthbender, and a dusty-looking vampire to stop them, using magical stones called Hedrons that were powered by the energy of the planet. Once the Eldrazi Titans were sealed away, everybody left and they lived happily ever after. Until some clumsy elf accidentally released them and basically doomed the entire planet. Two of the Titans roamed the planet and continued to devour until a group of Planeswalkers showed up. These Planeswalkers tried to seal them away and attempted a few other plans that all failed. So they did the only logical thing they could think of. They casually tapped into the life force of the planet, gave all of that power to a firebender, and hoped she could kill them. Also, they almost doomed the entire planet because they used so much of the planet's mana. Let's just say I won't be adding Zendikar to a list of my holiday resort locations anytime soon. So Ulamog and Kozilek were burned to death, and everyone celebrated, and they all lived happily ever. Wait, wasn't there supposed to be 3 of them? Emrakul, being the smart one, left the plane the moment she was set free, and was lured to a different plane rich with exposed mana. This plane is called Innistrad. Emrakul seemed to have been baited there by the Earthbender Nahiri, who we mentioned earlier that originally sealed Emrakul away. Her and Soren had some sort of disagreement that isn't explained very well, but blah blah blah. Now she wants his world to be destroyed, and lured Emrakul there by directing all of the planet's mana into one specific location. And we all know how Eldrazi feel about sweet, succulent planet life force mana stuff. Emrakul couldn't just walk right into Innistrad, though. A super powerful archangel called Avacyn defended humanity from other powerful beings like demon lords and elder vampires. Luckily, Avacyn was driven insane either by Nahiri, a demon, or Emrakul herself, and this madness forced Soren Markov to destroy his archangel. Once Avacyn was out of the picture, enter Emrakul, the promised end. Emrakul showed exactly how powerful she was during her time on Innistrad. She caused people to go insane, she morphed angels together into some kind of Eldrazi abomination, she even beat down the same planeswalkers that killed the other two titans. The only planeswalker Emrakul had any real trouble with was Liliana Vess because... reasons? Emrakul was such a threat to the multiverse that one planeswalker named Tamiyo took it upon herself to basically nuke the entire planet in order to take Emrakul down with her. When this planeswalker used this scroll of nuking, she got a different outcome than what she was expecting. The scroll she used somehow sealed Emrakul inside of Innistrad's moon. While Emrakul was fighting Liliana, she slipped into the minds of Tamiyo and forced her to change how the scroll worked. So Emrakul was so powerful that she knew exactly what Tamiyo was planning to do, and instead of just killing Tamiyo or getting rid of her scroll, she instead sealed herself away because she claimed that Innistrad was not ready for her. Confusing, I know, but it's what happened, and it's probably something super philosophical and way over our heads of understanding. So with that being said, let's get into her powers and how we can make this godlike being into a fun, exciting, and totally unfair creature in D&D 5th edition. We are going to start by taking a pre-existing Emrakul stat block that I have seen on the internet and make quite a few changes to it. I could not find the original creator of it, but I'm going to post a link to this stat block in my video description alongside my stat block at the end of the video. That way, if you want a quick and easy version of Emrakul, you can use the amazingly made Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. The reason I am changing things on here is I honestly believe that Emrakul is massively stronger than what that stat block shows, but in no way am I saying not to use the current iteration. So let's get started. I think we should keep a lot of Emrakul's stats and abilities from the previous stat block, such as its 23 AC and all 6 of its core stats. However, I do want to increase Emrakul's hit points by about double. I think that 600 hit points is a little too easy to deal with by a few high-level PCs, especially when the other version has no immunities or ability to protect itself against magic. So let's make its HP about 1200. I am very tempted to go higher with it because Vecna from Critical Role had close to 1600 hit points, and in my opinion, I think Emrakul and Deity Vecna are at least in the same ballpark when it comes to fightable bosses for D&D. I'm in no way capable of knowing the full power of Emrakul, but this video should give us a pretty good starting point. So our Emrakul has 23 AC, 1200 hit points, and a massive perception of 29. Saving throws are intelligence and wisdom modifiers plus 9 for Emrakul's hidden proficiency. Skills will be insight and arcana. She is very, very smart and can sense magic throughout the multiverse. Because of her ability to basically feel mana and magic, I think she should be immune to all condition effects, and at the very least resistant to all magical damage. She has shown the ability to control people's minds, so I'm going to make her immune to psychic attacks. Also, I'm throwing in immunity to poison because something tells me a colossal ancient titan isn't going to be affected by toxins and chemicals. With all that extra HP we gave her and all the base immunities and resistances, I think we should not only come up with a counterbalance, but add an uncommon vulnerability. Most high-level characters will have a crazy amount of magical weapons and gear, but as we stated earlier, Emrakul is beyond normal magic damages and probably has measures to combat such things. That being said, I think it would be very cool and unexpected to have her be weak to normal weapons. Seeing as to how she probably won't be able to ward off an attack she isn't used to being attacked by, I think regular weapons should get advantage on attacks against her, but also deal double damage. A PC with a plus 5 to their strength holding a greatsword can only do a maximum of 17 damage with one non-critical attack, so I don't think it's very problematic weakness, but definitely seems thematic. Her base stats should be close to a 24 strength, a 20 dexterity because I really don't think she's very nimble, a 29 constitution, a huge 28 intelligence, and a 30 wisdom because she's very, very old and very, very smart, and an 18 charisma because although she's not charismatic like a paladin or a cleric, she's charismatic in the way that she could definitely persuade someone to do something. And just like that, we have a great starting point. Now, let's get into the bread and butter of all of her special abilities. As per usual, I like to make my pasta monsters immune to things like polymorph and wishes so that our epic fight doesn't end to a single spell slot. Like we said before, Emrakul is very anti-magic, and I think she would be equipped with some low magic immunities. Things like 3rd level spells shouldn't really work on a being capable of drinking a planet dry of life energy. So my Emrakul is immune to all spells level 3 and lower, so that bad rolls don't eat up our legendary resistances. I have, however, not made her immune to cantrips. Some cantrips scale with the PCs, and I consider some high-end cantrips more powerful than early level spells. Our noodle monster should have some more specific immunities to things like stat drains, curses, death spells, disintegration, mind control, sleep effects, and so on. Basically anything that could kill non-gods. Now let's get a little freaky. The previously mentioned Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, had an ability that turned anything it killed into a yellow dust. I like the ability, but when I think of Emrakul, I think of her hordes of smaller Eldrazi as well. And instead of turning the things she kills into dust, I think she should raise them as her own Eldrazi puppets. So say she kills a playable character. I'd let her resurrect the player back at half of their maximum hit points, and now that player character is part of Emrakul's army. Obviously, Emrakul should have 5 or more legendary resistances per day, but I think 5 is a good number to stay with. Emrakul was able to enter 5 or 6 planeswalkers' minds while she was getting blasted with death magic, so I'm pretty sure Emrakul doesn't need to make concentration checks for anything. Emrakul can obviously use mind magic and illusions, so she will have an innate spellcasting from her wisdom, and taking inspiration from the original, I think her DC should be 27. You could basically give Emrakul a pool of all kinds of different spells, but for aesthetic's sake, we will let her cast 6th level Hypnotic Pattern and 6th level Major Image at will, let her cast Crown of Madness and 6th level Dissonant Whispers 3 times a day. It seems a little overkill, but I'm going to give her the ability to cast 7th level Counterspell twice a day, simply because my players are smart and none of my bosses are safe with just their resistances. To finish off her spells, I think she should be able to cast Modify Memory, Feeble Mind, and Weird at their highest possible casting level once per day. She honestly could have killed all of those planeswalkers in Innistrad using just her mind, or had them destroy each other. But now that all that craziness is taken care of, let's look at some of her possible attacks. 3 things come to mind, and I really think the pre-made Emrakul nailed it with her attacks. The only things I would change is to the Crushing Burden attack. Instead of having them fall 60 feet per round, I'd make it 120 feet, and I'd make the Upheaval attack pull rocks and debris into the air as well. That way the players need to be worried about a bunch of huge rocks and boulders smashing down on top of them. My version of Emrakul has 5 legendary actions with a bit more variety and more situational abilities, such as an Aura of Madness to temporarily disable some of the party mid-combat and allowing her to use Gravity Distortion in the middle of a round to keep the party on their toes. Emrakul is an absolute beast of a creature and one that should honestly live up to her many titles, mine being the Promised End. And with that, I think we have done a pretty good job making one of the most dangerous beings to date within the MTG universe. Let me know your thoughts and send me suggestions of what you like to see on this series. That Mage,